A lot has changed over the course of 100 years. The result of Michigan-Illinois football, the same in 2024 as it was all the way back in 1924.
From LA to Piscataway, all Big Ten all year long. This is Big Ten 10.
As I'm watching this game, a thought really kept on creeping into my head time after time after time. Why was Michigan a 3.5-point favorite? When I watched this Wolverines offense, why was Michigan a 3.5-point favorite? The 100th year rededication game, the Red Grange game. You knew there was going to be a lot of juice. You knew there was going to be a lot of energy in Champaign, Illinois, and there was, and Illinois always had a bigger window to succeed, not only in this game, but the rest of the season, than Michigan did. They had a very specific window of success in what they needed to do to win the game. They needed to pound the rock, they needed to have a fantastic day running the football, and their defense needed to get after it, right? That's what they need to do. This is not a Michigan team from last year where, hey, they can beat you any way they choose to beat you, and like the good teams in the Big Ten this year. No, they have a very specific narrow tunnel that they have to drive through to be able to win the game, and they weren't able to do that here against Illinois. So congrats to the Illini on the 21-7 victory. This was the Brett Bielema bounce back that was needed for Illinois to prove to all of us, well, that doesn't really matter inside the Illinois locker room, but definitely prove to themselves that that second half against Purdue was indeed a fluke. They proved that. What was the biggest determining factor into proving that? That's where I want to start in my Big Ten Teds takeaways. Front seven success is the thing that really spoke to me, because to defend Michigan, I mentioned it here in the open, that you need to be able to contain this run game. And specifically, you need to be able to contain the big explosive plays in the Michigan Wolverines run game. Like, you look at when Michigan was able to have success against USC earlier this season, it's because Kaleo Mullings and Donovan Edwards were able to bust off 40-yard runs and 50-yard runs and 60-yard runs. Illinois kept that in check. Not only did they keep the explosive run plays in check against Michigan, they just kept the entire run game in check. 114 yards on the ground for the Wolverines. The leading rusher was Kaleo Mullings. He had under 90 yards in this ball game. So check that box. Illinois did a really good job against the run game, right? We're going to keep on checking boxes. There's only really a few big boxes that you need to check when you face off against Michigan to be able to defeat them. Second one, they got pressure on Jack Tuttle. 5 sacks, 7 tackles for loss for this Illinois defensive front in this game. And how about Gabe Akis? 2.5 sacks in this game. He's that defensive end, outside linebacker hybrid combination. He's got a good amount of size, but he's got good quickness coming off the edge. And I'm just looking, and I'm really focused on these Michigan offensive tackles throughout this game. And even when Illinois wasn't able to get a sack, or Illinois wasn't able to get a TFL, Illinois was just able to push back Michigan's offensive line at those positions consistently throughout this game. So being able to stack up against the run, being able to provide pressure and attacking Jack Tuttle and getting them certainly off rhythm and getting Michigan certainly behind early, this was the confidence boost that Aaron Henry's front needed to get after last week's performance against a bad Purdue team. And they just got Michigan behind early, right? I talked about it in the preview of this game, right? You get Michigan behind the 8 ball early in this one, you get them behind and you get them out of their comfort zone. This is a Michigan team that wants to start fast. This is a Michigan team that wants to get ahead. They want to play from the lead, because if they can get that 7 to 10 point lead and then just grind the game down and lengthen the game and take away possessions and shorten possessions from the other team, that's where they want to live. And they just did not live in that box in this game against Illinois. So props to the Illini for bouncing back defensively in this game. I think for the majority of the season that this has been a pretty good defense. I think maybe now we look at it from 10,000 feet in the air. Maybe that was just a fluky second half. I know that they had some injuries on the back end during that game against the Purdue Boilermakers. But that's the last time we're going to mention that game against Purdue, because that's in the past. Impressive performance here against Michigan up front in the front seven. Defensive line and linebackers certainly played well. I think the secondary also played pretty well for Illinois in this game. And then this was a game where they just grinded it out. Look, the offense, the two units that I thought could have success in this game, the Michigan run game And the Illinois throw game didn't have a ton of success. Like Luke Altmaier didn't throw for over 100 yards in this game. But Luke Altmaier was able to get things going with his scrambling ability. That certainly helped out the Illini in this game and helped extend drive throughout this game as well. And Illinois just making plays when you need to. There's something to be said, and I love this saying. There's something to be said when maybe you don't play your best as a football team. You don't play that A-, A+ type of game, but you still find a way to beat a ranked team by a couple of scores. That means Illinois' football program is certainly in a great spot under Brett Bielema. And we talked about Michigan getting behind early. It was Illinois getting ahead early, and I think Brett Bielema knew that they didn't need to do a ton. They didn't need to certainly have the offensive performance like they did last week. They didn't need to have the offensive performance, and Luke Altmaier didn't need to make plays down the field. The guys like Pat Bryant and Zachary Franklin, they needed to grind out a victory. I thought their run game, look, Luke Altmaier, of course, I mentioned his mobility in this game, but I thought their run game did a pretty good job, did a pretty serviceable job at grinding out this victory as well. So, like I said, it wasn't the most impressive thing in the world, but a win is a win against a ranked team in this conference. So, thumbs up to you, Illinois, getting a big win. You're improving to 6-1. Big game next week against the Oregon Ducks on the West Coast in Eugene on CBS. Now, I'm going to finish this thing off by talking about the Michigan Wolverines and these Michigan miscues. Look, they're already playing shorthanded a little bit, right? This is already an offense that doesn't have hardly a semblance of a throw game. This is an offense that they need to almost pitch an 8-inning game where you have 2 hits, right? Pretty darn close to a no-hitter. They need to throw that almost every single time. If they get just 3 or 4 hits, it's just everything doesn't go almost perfect. That's where things really start to trail off for Michigan. So you have that, and then you turn the football over a couple of times in the first half. You got 2 fumbles. Credit to Gabe Akis once again for punching that ball out on one of those fumbles. But when you're already shorthanded, when you're already limited, when you already have to throw close to a perfect game, and then you turn the football over twice in the first half, you get behind. That's certainly not going to help you out. You get to the third quarter, late in the third quarter, they're trailing 21-7. You go on a 15-play drive. All right, we're marching the football down the field. We're going to punch this into the end zone. We're going to make it a 1-score game. All right, you come up short. You kick a field goal. Let's make this an 11-point game. 15-play drive. You take all of that time off the clock, a short field goal attempt, and it's blocked. It was just miscue after miscue, and then you look to the fourth quarter. Well, at this time, you're 2 scores down, and now you got to put the ball into the hands of Jack Tuttle. And that's exactly what nobody needs in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Boy, they have tried 3 different options at quarterback this season. Of course, they started with Davis Warren. They went to the more mobile type of Alex Orji. And now you went to the experienced type in Jack Tuttle. And man, some of those throws, interceptions, high throws, they turn it over on downs. They were just nowhere near these receivers in this game. It's tough. It is going to be tough the rest of the way with Oregon on the schedule, with Ohio State on the schedule, with Indiana on the schedule. Who knows? Maybe next week, a rivalry game against Michigan State. Who knows how that one's going to go? Certainly for the Michigan Wolverines. It's a tough ask, I think, in year one for Sharon Moore to really get this thing going. I think defensive coordinators, defenses around the Big Ten are looking at how the Washingtons of the world and how the Illinois of the world, like Illinois brought a lot of people up to the line of scrimmage in many different scenarios, whether it was defending the run or just getting after Jack Tuttle, because they know, hey, we leave our guys on one-on-one coverage. We feel pretty good about that. Okay, Michigan needs to have big performances from Colston Loveland week after week after week, and he is tough to defend, but when you have a quarterback that's inaccurate, that certainly doesn't help you out as well. Tuttle was just off all night. He was just off all night. Like, they had time to prepare him, to get him into this situation, but, Michigan is in a similar situation like maybe Iowa has been the last few years, where you kind of know you're already shorthanded. You're already killing off a penalty when you kick this thing off 15 minutes on the clock with first quarter on the scoreboard to start a game. Okay, and now you gotta find different ways. Like Iowa was able to do it with the punt game with Torrey Taylor. They had a really good defense. So Michigan's got to try to find different ways to generate points throughout this season. Otherwise, they could be staring at something like 7-5 when all is said and done after this season. Big win for the Illinois Fighting Illini. They're probably going to jump up maybe into the top 20 or so, depending on how the rest of the Saturday goes in all of college football. Sometimes it's just about finding ways to win, and that's what the Illinois Fighting Illini were able to do on the 100th anniversary of that fantastic Red Grange game. I want to know what you guys think of this win for Illinois over Michigan. Leave all your thoughts in the comments below. I'm Big Ten Ted. We will see you in the next one.
Thanks for watching Big Ten Ted, where it's all Big Ten all year long. Make sure to like the video to spread the word of Big Ten Ted to the masses, and subscribe to the channel for updates on Big Ten content that drops every day.